All right, so this is day 7. As you can see, the floor has its primer on there. It took I would say like almost a week to get this floor ready to actually do this. Only because I didn't paint over any rust. I got all the rust off. I mean, I converted a little bit that was inside the seams that I couldn't get to with like Cora seal and other things like that. But for the most part, I got all the rust out completely, and then I put an inhibitor on it to make sure that that area was protected. But if there was any rust, it got converted. Finally, I got to a place where I could prime the floor. So it snowed out, and I'm here to make sure. I wanted to see where leaks are because the top of the bus has snow all over. It's the perfect time to check for leaks. So when I came in the bus, I got the heater. That heater's awesome. The comfort zone is like $15. That thing warms the whole inside of the bus up for in 5 minutes. It's tiny too. All right, so there was a leak right here. You can see it. And that is not coming from the seal of the hatch. It's actually dripping right off this button, which tells me that inside there has a leak, that's fine. And then all over here was wet, which tells me like this area where the snow is in the window, it's dripping down there. So this area I'm gonna pay extra attention to. Obviously, I'm gonna do all the bus with the seals. But today what I'm doing is I'm wiping down these walls with paint thinner or denatured alcohol or whatever you want to use. It's that can strip all the the grimies off of it. So I got a gallon of paint thinner over here, and then I have Bondo and a Bondo mat. And my rust holes were, this bus is a 2002, so I don't have a lot of rust. No like giant holes. So what I did over here is, if there's like a little tiny hole, a little hole, and the same thing with those areas, I took a piece of 1/8" steel, and then I completely prepped it. I just didn't put bare steel in there. What I did was I prepped the steel with the same thing I would as the floor, with a rust inhibitor, a primer, and then an epoxy paint. That way I know that chip itself is protected. You don't want to put just a bare steel chip in there because, it's not protected on the bottom. So as soon as water gets it from underneath the bus, it's going to start rusting. So you want to make sure whatever you put inside there to repair that, it has to be protected just like any other surface would. So what I did was, the floor was primed, everything was, I did my part on what I had to do for the floor and all inside the hole and, that stuff. Then I prepared the patch chips, and then I just put fiberglass resin on there and a fiberglass mat, and then laid a piece of patch chip on there and just patched it in. I mean, my holes are really tiny, so I didn't do like a professional like welding job. It doesn't need it. So this is just gonna be fine. So basically inside of here, in the middle of there's a steel patch on all the little tiny holes. The steel patch is only about the size of a quarter. You could probably even use a quarter in reality. You could probably, these little tiny holes, you could probably just plug them with a quarter. But I mean, that's some kind of some shady, but it would work. I mean, no doubt. So right now I'm waiting for this to dry. I got the heater going. I did that on all the little hole areas. You can see all those little tiny holes that were going through the floor. They're all fully patched. Once that dries, I'm just gonna sand it a little bit. Get any, maybe put a little bit. It's gonna be underneath the floor, so you don't have to go crazy with like glazing putty and all that stuff to patch up the little air holes. You just have to make sure the hole's gone. So I'll sand it really quick with some light grit, and then that's probably about it. I'll spray some primer on there. I'll go over with some rusty metal primer so it looks like the floor, and call it a day. Same thing right there, and right there. I went a little bit overboard on the stuff, but who cares? It's gonna be underneath the floor. And I just wanted, I just wanted to smooth it out. I didn't want to waste time. Like, you can go on here and you can waste a lot of time on this. You could go like that and then smooth and then feather the edges and then sand it. You don't need to. It's going to be insulation, then plywood. This is the base floor. As long as the holes are plugged and they're plugged correctly so they're not going to let water inside and rust and all that stuff, then you're good to go. So this one I just put the patch piece right there. I spread some of this on there. I put the patch piece, and then I let it dry, and then I spread the top coat on there and blended it in really like that a couple times, and got the edges smooth, and then it's done. So when it's drying, I'll just sand it off, hit it with the primer, and it'll be good to go. So that's what I'm doing today. And then I'm also doing all these things, these holes. They all gotta get the little tiny nail holes. They can take Bondo easily. They take one pass over it and it seals them. The bigger holes, the 1/4 inch holes, those are a little more tricky. You're probably gonna have to lay some like fiberglass cloth on there and then put some on there, or you can just seal it with silicone. You can still seal it with some silicone, whatever you want to do. I mean, I'm still debating how I'm going to do this because I don't think I want to go over and plug every single little hole. But I'm definitely going to do all the nails holes with Bondo, because I'm just going to do one clean swipe and just let it dry, and then maybe do one more swipe after it's dry, just to make sure that any little Bondo that fell through and didn't completely fill the holes make sure it gets it on the second pass. But today, I'm gonna leave here with every single hole in the bottom of the bus plugged and sanded and prepped, and maybe even start to paint. It depends on how fast the Bondo dries. I got the heater going. It's freezing cold outside, but I'm in here with short sleeves. It's probably, I would say, 75 degrees in here with that heater going, which is awesome little heater. Yeah, it just blows out like 150 degrees. I'm surprised that thing doesn't melt, because I use that thing a lot. Yeah, then I got the Rust-Oleum gloss white oil-based enamel that's going to go on top of here. And what I'm doing right now as I wait for these Bondo patches to dry is I'm wiping down the walls with the paint thinner and getting all the junk cleaned off of it. And I just use a little spray can just to spray a little test area of Rust-Oleum gloss white to see if the oil's cleaned off. If the oil's not cleaned off, you'll see it be like you got Rain-X on your windows. So I just because those were really gunky areas, but I scrubbed them hard. And then I wanted to make sure that all that oil was off. So I just took a spray can and went across it one time, and it was good. It adhered to the whole surface without beading, so I know the oil's gone. The rest of the walls aren't that bad. The rest of the walls just had to get wiped down. This side I'm about to do now. I'm gonna wipe it down real quick. And yeah, so hopefully if everything goes according to plan, I want to have the walls painted before I leave and the floor fully plugged. If I get lucky and the thing dries quick and I'm ahead of schedule with plugging the floor, maybe I can paint the walls and paint the floor. But as of right now, my goal is to paint both walls from the bottom of the ceiling down with that epoxy gloss white, and plug the floors. So I'll let you know how that goes, and I'm gonna get to work.